Morning everyone, and welcome to our assembly on Friday the 12th of March 2021. It's a very exciting day today because we have something big happening next week which we are all looking forward to, and we'll talk about that in a minute. First of all, we had some sad news recently. Many of you will know Mrs. McQueen, who has worked in our school for nearly 20 years. Mrs. McQueen sadly passed away. She died recently following a period of illness. So everybody in school has been feeling very sad about that, and we are going to really miss Mrs. McQueen. We've been thinking a lot about her family and sending our love and best wishes to them. After we've heard about something very sad, sometimes it's really good to talk to someone about how you're feeling, or to do something that makes you feel better. So sometimes when I'm feeling sad, I might talk to my dog or stroke my dog, or I might talk to a grown-up, or I might talk to a friend about how I'm feeling. So if you find yourself thinking about being sad when you're thinking about Mrs. McQueen, try and talk to somebody, because that usually helps. Another thing that usually helps is to think of your memories. Mrs. McQueen was a very kind, caring person, and she helped many, many children in school. She might have helped you with your schoolwork, or she might have helped you in the playground when you fell over or you were needing somebody to play with. So it can sometimes help us when we think of all the happy memories that we have of somebody. And I know many of you will have very happy memories of being with Mrs. McQueen in school. So try and think about those happy memories when you're feeling sad, and that will help you to feel better and more positive too. On 19th of March, so a week today, it's Red Nose Day, and you can come dressed to school in fancy dress if you like, or in a costume, or just not wearing school uniform, just in your normal out of school clothes, or you can come to school in your school uniform. It's up to you. We are not collecting money this year in a bucket because of COVID, but what grown-ups can do is, if they want to give some money to Red Nose Day this year to help children here in Scotland and the United Kingdom and abroad, there's a Just Giving page which has been in our school newsletters, and grown-ups know about that, so they can always give some money on the James Gillespie's Primary School Just Giving page for comic relief. So I look forward to seeing you all. You can go completely crazy and just dress up however you like, or you can just come to school in your normal out of school clothes or your school uniform. It's up to you. Another important day that we've had this week is International Women's Day, which was on March the 8th. Normally when we're in school, we would have lots of women coming to talk to you, quite often our parents or people in Edinburgh who are women who have done extremely well in a chosen field, engineering or science or teaching or racing or athletics or something. And the reason we do that is to show how sometimes in our society, our country, girls and women can feel like, people don't expect them to do well, or that they should only do certain jobs or certain things. So the reason that we concentrate on International Women's Day every year is because here at James Gillespie's we absolutely believe that whether you're a boy or a girl, or whether you don't identify as a boy or a girl, you can do whatever you choose, that success in life comes from hard work, being kind to people, doing your best, and then you can achieve whatever you like. So we aren't able to do much for International Women's Day this year, but I know lots of you will be interested in it. So when you come back to school, it might be that you do a bit of work on this in school. You can talk to your teachers about that. Or it might be that you want to look up International Women's Day 2021, and there are lots of things for you to look at on the internet. There are lots of stories about women who have overcome barriers in their lives and overcome people who said they couldn't do something, to become really the best in their field. So have a look at International Women's Day on the internet, and CBeebies and BBC Bite Size have lots of information there too about International Women's Day. The big news that we all were looking forward to was that everybody is coming back to school on Monday the 15th of March. So we are really looking forward to seeing our primary 4 to 7s back in school. It will be very similar to how it was just before Christmas time. So we will still be in our class bubbles. We will still have our lunches in the classrooms. We will still have our own areas outside to play in our classes. And we will still have to make sure we wash our hands, stay 2 meters away from each other if we are adults. Children don't need to stay 2 meters away from each other. And in primary 2 to 7, teachers will try and stay 2 meters away from you for most of the time. You might notice teachers and grown-ups wearing face masks, and we will still be very careful about keeping the classroom windows open and getting lots of good fresh air, maybe going outside more than we would normally do, so that we can get lots of fresh air and stay healthy. So we look forward to seeing all of you back in school. Thank you to everybody who's been working really hard at home. You've absolutely done a brilliant job with your home learning. So thank you to all of you for working so hard at home and staying connected to your teachers. And thank you to all the teachers and grown-ups in school who have helped with home learning and running Hub School. Nursery and primary 1, 2 and 3 have been back for a couple of weeks now, and they've settled in really well. And thank you to everybody for working so hard in school. We are going to think about St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day at this time of year is a very important day for one country in particular. St. Patrick is the patron saint of Ireland. So we're going to have a think about who St. Patrick was, why is he so well known, and why is he the saint of Ireland, and why do many people celebrate St. Patrick's Day every year. You can see some pictures of things that are well known or connected to Ireland, associated with Ireland in the slide. So we have a Celtic cross, which is a particular type of Christian cross with this circle on it, and that's associated with Ireland and Scotland and the other Celtic countries. We have a harp, we have a leprechaun character, and we have a pot of gold. We'll be thinking about those in a little while. We have some challenges all the way through our St. Patrick's Day assembly, so hopefully you can try some of the challenges. So the first challenge is, in the slide that just went past, you may have noticed a pot of gold. And there's an old tradition in Ireland and in Scotland that when you see a rainbow, there will be a pot of gold or something that you wish for at the end of the rainbow. However, when you get to the end of the rainbow, there will be a leprechaun guarding the pot of gold. And the leprechaun might give you a puzzle or a challenge to solve before he or she allows you to get some of the gold. So here's my first leprechaun challenge. How many coins do you think were in that pot of gold that you just saw? You might have to close your eyes and try and picture the pot of gold and how many coins were sticking out the top, and then guess how many coins were in that pot of gold. And at the end, I'll maybe choose somebody or give you the answer if you're listening well. Challenge number 2 is all about a funny poem called a limerick, and limericks are associated with Ireland too. So here's an example of a limerick. There was a young boy from St. Peter's who loved to eat lots of fajitas. When he saw them at school, he would often just drool and dream he could hear them. And you've got to think of the missing word. And maybe a limerick was one of the puzzles that a leprechaun would use before he or she gave you some gold from the pot of gold. So a limerick has a certain rhythm. There was a young boy from St. Peter's who loved to eat lots of fajitas. So there's a kind of dum-de-dum-de-dum, de-dum-de-dum-de-dum rhythm to a limerick. So you have to kind of try and stick to that rhythm if you're going to write a limerick. And as well as the rhythm, there's also a particular rhyme pattern. So have a look at the lines. How many lines are there? Can you count them? There are 5 lines, that's right. So look at the way the rhymes work. So there was a young boy from St. Peter's who loved to eat lots of fajitas. So line 1 and line 2 in a limerick always rhyme. They sound the same at the end of the line. St. Peter's, fajitas. And then line 3 and 4 usually have the same rhyme, school and drool. And then the final line is what makes the limerick sound quite funny, quite entertaining, because it usually has the same rhyme as lines 1 and 2. So the missing word in this one must be the same rhyme as St. Peter's and fajitas. So can you write a funny limerick using the same de-dump, de-dump, de-dump and the same rhyme pattern? Let's have a go. So we could make it our school, couldn't we? We could say there was a young girl from Gillespie's who liked to, and then we've got to think of something that might rhyme with Gillespie's. That's quite a hard rhyme. So maybe an easier one would be there was a young girl from Glasgow who liked to, and then we have to think of a word that rhymes with Glasgow. And then when she something, 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 she would something, 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 and then she would, and we've got to think of another rhyme that rhymes with Glasgow, because that was the first rhyme in lines 1 and 2. So maybe have a go. If you get really stuck, you could use the internet to look up some funny limericks and you'll get some more examples of how the rhyme works. And maybe when you can come back to school on Monday, you could say your limerick or tell me your limerick if you manage to write a really funny one. So here's St. Patrick, and you can see in the picture he's got lots of snakes at his feet. And one of the things that St. Patrick was said to have done was to have got rid of all the snakes from Ireland. And if anybody is Irish or comes from Ireland or has gone to Ireland to visit, you'll know that one of the famous things about Ireland is that it has no snakes. So one of the legends about St. Patrick was that he got rid of all the snakes from Ireland. And I suppose we don't really know whether that's true or not, but it is a really great story. So I'm going to get you to pause the assembly, and there's a movie to watch. So there's a movie for nursery to P3. So there's a link, and you can go back to the assembly page on our website to click on the link. And there's also a different movie for primary 4 to 7. And the movies tell you all about St. Patrick's life. So you're going to pause the assembly, watch the movie, and then challenge 3 for our St. Patrick's Day is to answer some questions in the movie quiz. So I'll see you in a little while. Go off and watch the movie and then come back to the assembly and see if you can answer some of the movie quiz questions. See you in a little bit. Okay, so here is our movie quiz. I hope you got lots of information from the St. Patrick's movie. Question number 1, where did Patrick grow up? Question number 2, why did he go to Ireland? Question number 3, what did Patrick do when he came back to Britain? Question number 4, why did he go back to Ireland again? And question number 5, what famous things is Patrick said to have done? So I wonder if you can find the answers to those 5 questions. You might need to go and watch the movie again, and that's okay, but maybe you can give me the answers to the questions. Question number 1, where did Patrick grow up? Can you shout out your answer? Question number 2, why did Patrick go to Ireland? Question number 3, what did Patrick do when he came back to Britain? Question number 4, why did Patrick go back to Ireland? And question number 5, what famous things is Patrick said to have done during his lifetime? So if you want to check your answers, you can go back and look through the movie. And we're going to move on to the next slide. There are another couple of movies for you to watch, and these show you how people celebrate St. Patrick's Day. It's not just celebrated in Ireland, because like Scotland, people have moved all over the world from Ireland, and they've taken their traditions with them. So if you go to Chicago or New York or Sydney in Australia, or lots of places around the world, on St. Patrick's Day, you will notice lots of people celebrating St. Patrick's Day and their Irish heritage and their Irish traditions and culture. So you might see an Irish pipe band, you might see Irish dancers in the street, you might see some very strange things happening. So for example, some cities make their rivers turn green because green is the national, one of the national colours of Ireland. So you might see green rivers in some cities on St. Patrick's Day, and you'll see some of that in the movies. So why don't you pause the assembly and enjoy a second movie and have a look at how people might celebrate St. Patrick's Day in different parts of the world. And we'll see you back here in a little while. One of the things that St. Patrick did was he used this plant called the shamrock. And some of you might have seen the shamrock. It looks a bit like clover, and it grows in grass in fields. And it has 3 leaves normally, although if you find one with 4 leaves, that is said to be very good luck. And sometimes when people find a 4-leafed clover or a 4-leaf shamrock, they keep it in their pocket for a long, long time so that it might bring them good luck. But this plant has 3 leaves normally, and St. Patrick, who was a Christian and taught people about Christianity, he used the shamrock to teach them about 3 very important things in the Christian tradition. So he taught them using the 3 leaves, and he taught them about God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. And some of you might know quite a lot about that if you go to Christian church, and you might have been taught about those things. But we can also use the shamrock to think about the things that we are going to try and be in our lives. And St. Patrick did that. He encouraged people to think about 3 things that they might try to be. So you might try to be kind, you might try to be helpful, you might try to be understanding of people, compassionate. So maybe you can make a shamrock for challenge number 4. You could cut it out, colour it in green, and you could maybe make 3 promises to yourself. 3 things that you're going to try really hard to be. So that might be at home, or it might be when you come back to school on Monday if you're coming back to school for the first time since Christmas. So try and have a think about 3 things that you really, really want to focus on, 3 things that you really want to be. And then we can maybe have a chat about some of those in school if some of you have done the Shamrock Challenge by the time you come back to school. Another thing you can do is think about the pot of gold. So some people believe that when you see a rainbow, at the end of the rainbow might be a pot of gold. But some people in Ireland believe that it's not always a pot of gold. It might be something that you wish for, that you really, really want to achieve. And when you find the end of the rainbow, some special magic happens, and then that will help you to achieve the thing that you really want to achieve. So challenge 5 is maybe to draw a picture of a rainbow, a leprechaun, and a pot of gold. But instead of the gold being in the pot, maybe you could put something in the pot that you really want to achieve. So some of you might want to achieve becoming a teacher or a doctor or an engineer or a certain type of job. So you could draw that in the pot. Some of you might want to achieve being the kindest person that's ever lived. So you could draw a picture of you in the pot being very kind. Or you might have a different thing that you want to achieve. So challenge number 5 is to draw in the pot with the leprechaun and yourself and the rainbow something that you want to achieve. So we have lots of St. Patrick's Day challenges in our assembly today, and hopefully you'll enjoy doing those. So St. Patrick is known as the patron saint of Ireland. So that just means that for the whole of the country of Ireland, he is seen as the saint that looks after the country and helps it. And there's a tradition in Christianity of saints helping different people and doing different things. So if you look at the list here, I've just chosen some of the saints that you might have heard of, or some of the saints that are quite unusual and we might not have heard of them. So as well as being the patron saint of Ireland, can you look down the list and see what else Patrick is the saint for? Because I didn't know that. So it's quite surprising for me to see that he was also the saint for engineers. So some of your mums and dads might be engineers. So it's interesting that Patrick is the saint looking after engineers. And you can have a look at St. Andrew. You'll know that St. Andrew is the patron saint of Scotland, but he's also the patron saint for Greece and Russia. There are some saints I must admit I hadn't heard of. St. Eustatius is the saint that looks after firefighters, and St. Cassian of Imola is the saint that looks after school teachers. And I had heard of St. Christopher, who is the saint that looks after travellers. And when I was little, I used to have a necklace that I wore, and it had a little picture on it of St. Christopher, and he was supposed to keep you safe when you were travelling. So that was something I certainly grew up with. Okay, let's have a look at the final slide. So there were 321 coins in the leprechaun's pot of gold. So I wonder if anybody was close. There's also a St. Patrick's Day quiz and more movies, and this link you can go back to on the school's assembly page if you want to find out more about St. Patrick's Day or St. Patrick himself, and you can find out a lot more and try some quizzes at the link, and that's on the assembly homepage. So it's been lovely speaking to you today and having some St. Patrick's Day fun, and we are really looking forward to seeing you all back in school next week on Monday the 15th. So have a